Hello students, welcome back. Today we will read chapter 2, that is nutrition in animals. In the previous chapter you have read about the nutrition in plants. Now in this chapter we have to read nutrition in animals. That means how nutrition occurs in the animals, what are the different steps of the holozoic nutrition. So let's first recall the previous topic. So I think in the previous video you have read about the different modes of nutrition, how the organisms, the way of taking food, that is different in different organisms, and what are the different steps of the holozoic nutrition. So how many steps are there? 5 steps are there. Ingestion, that means the process of taking food inside the body through the mouth. That process is called ingestion. Next is digestion. In digestion, the breakdown of the complex solid food particles into the simple soluble form with the help of the different types of the enzymes in the various parts, that is called digestion. And after digestion, the third step, that is called absorption, in which that means digested food that is absorbed by the body cells, mainly absorption and assimilation. Both that means occurs in a small intestine. So the fourth step is assimilation. In assimilation, that means absorbed food is mixed with the blood and goes to the different parts of the body. And finally egestion. Egestion, that means removal of the waste material through the body. That process is called egestion, and these steps, that means happen in all the animals, either they are unicellular or multicellular. So first is alimentary canal. So what is alimentary canal? The alimentary canal, you can say, that is the long tube like structure and which runs, that means it is a long tube like a structure in which complete digestion and absorption of food takes place. It starts from the mouth and ends in the anus, and it is about 8.5 to 9 meter long. And what are the various organs that are involved in the alimentary canal? So first is mouth. First one is mouth. Second is esophagus, or it is also known as oesophagus. Third is a stomach. Fourth is a small intestine. Fifth is large intestine, and finally rectum and anus. So these are the different organs of the alimentary canal, which you can say helps in the process of digestion. So I think you have read about the mouth. Let's recall the topic. I think this is clear from the picture. This is the picture of your mouth, and as you know that the digestion in the human beings, that starts in the mouth, is mainly the which component of the food, that is a starch, with the help of the enzyme called salivary amylase, which convert the starch into glucose. And in our mouth, the various types of the teeth are present, which function is to, that means, broken the food particles into a smaller form. That means it helps in the mechanical digestion. And tongue, that also helps in the mixing the food with saliva. And if you not take care of the your teeth properly, then what will be happen? Tooth decay may occurs, and which may damage your teeth. So you have to take care of your teeth also. You should brush at least twice a day. Otherwise what will be happen? Teeth will be damaged, or it may causes the tooth decay. Now today we will going to start from the esophagus. So what is esophagus or oesophagus? That is a long, thin and muscular tube that connects the pharynx, or you can say throat to the stomach, or you can say that is the connecting link between mouth to the stomach. Or if mouth is the gateway for the food, then esophagus is the highway for the food. That means through that, from mouth, the food reaches to the stomach. It forms an important part of the gastrointestinal tract, and their function is also very important. It functions as the condition for food and liquid that have been swallowed into the pharynx to reach the stomach. That means all the food items or the liquid what we are taking during the daytime, in our day to day life, that swallow through the esophagus. It is about 9 centimeter long and about a few, you can say, less than 1 inches in diameter. And one important thing, let's see the diagram. This is the diagram of the esophagus. This is the esophagus. I think you are watching. This is the food items. So after mouth, when food reaches to the esophagus, so here one important movement in the muscles occur in the esophagus by the rhythmic contraction and relaxation. Food passes upward, that means through towards the stomach, and this movement is called peristalsis. So the swallowed food passes into the food pipe or esophagus as shown in the figure that is given, and through peristalsis movements it reaches towards the stomach. I think you are watching from this figure. Here is also the other food items. So we have to take, that means, certain duration while we are eating. That means if we eat continuously, then a reverse process may also occur, that is anti-peristalsis. Right now I am going to discuss the topic. So I think this is clear from this diagram that this is the pathway by which from the mouth food goes to the stomach, or you can say it connects mouth and stomach. Here muscles are also present. One muscle is present here and one muscle is present here, and actually it is just behind the trachea. In our throat, two pipes are there. This is windpipe, which is also known as trachea, and this is the food pipe. The other name of the esophagus is the food pipe also. So food pipe or esophagus, that is just behind the windpipe, and here one flap like a structure is present, that is called epiglottis. That is mainly called epiglottis. So it mainly, that means, prevent the food items to goes to the windpipe. And right now I told you about the anti-peristalsis. So what will be happen if we, that means, eating the food continuously, that means we are not giving the proper time to our digestive system to first digest the food that we have taken earlier. So the other process may occurs, that is called anti-peristalsis. I think peristalsis is clear to all of you. That is the rhythmic contraction of the muscles of the esophagus through which food passes upward, that means towards the stomach. And anti, that means the reverse process. So anti-peristalsis, that means if, that means, space is not empty and food not forward upward, then in that case it again return back to the mouth in the form of the vomiting. So that is called anti-peristalsis. So there is certain gap between our meal. So that's why food can be properly digested first. Now the next part, that is stomach. Stomach, that is the thin wall, bag like a structure, and you can see that somehow it is J-shaped structure. Actually the size of the stomach in adult, that means it is not when we are child, then that according to the size of our body, that is a small, but when we become the adult, the size is constant and it may expand. When we are taking the food items or food is stored inside the stomach, then it may expand, and certain that means muscular movement also occurs inside the stomach through which food is churned. So now we will discuss about the function of the stomachs. What are the various things that is secreted from the inner lining of the stomach? So you can say that it is the widest part of the alimentary canal. Okay, so that means it is the widest part of the alimentary canal, and the food that is brings through the esophagus, that goes to the stomach. In stomach wall, three tubular glands are present which secrete gastric juices. So what are the main substances that is present in the gastric juices? First is hydrochloric acid. I think you are familiar about the HCl, how strong that acid is. That is the mineral acid, and that is secreted inside our stomach. The enzyme pepsin, and the third one is mucus. So let's see one by one what are the function of this. The hydrochloric acid that creates the acidic medium. Why acidic medium is required? Actually, the enzyme pepsin, which acts on the protein that mainly facilitate, or you can say that mainly works in the acidic medium. So that's why for the proper functioning of the pepsin, the digestion, for the digestion of the protein, the medium should be acidic, which is provided by hydrochloric acid. It also kills the certain bacteria which might be goes inside our stomach through the food items. Next is the, so I think the function of the HCl, that is clear to all of you. And in gastric juices, the pepsin that mainly present in the gastric juices, and which acts on the protein and partially digested it. One more thing that is also secreted, that is the mucus. So what is the role of the mucus? Actually, mucus form a protective layer inside the inner wall of the stomach and prevent it from the acidic attack. That means the bad effect of the HCl. But what happen if we will, that means make too much long between our meal, then because of the secretion of the HCl, actually approx 2 to 2.5 liter gastric juices are secreted per day inside our stomachs. So that means we have to, after certain duration, we have to take the food items, otherwise the HCl will damage our stomach wall, and in long run it may cause the ulcer also. Due to hyper secretion of the HCl, hyperacidity may also occurs. So we should avoid these things by, that means stopping the too much gap between the food items. Okay, so I think all the things should be clear what I have discussed in this lecture. That means the mouth, esophagus and the stomach. What is the peristalsis, antiperistalsis? So in the next video we will read about the small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. That means the other organs which are left in the alimentary canal. So I think the topic is clear. Okay, thank you students.